back to Indianomics. We have been speaking with the Reserve Bank Governor, Dr. Raghuram Rajan. You know, you didn't announce an SLR cut. That was, I thought, a little unusual. Why didn't you?
We have announced a fair amount of SLR cuts so far. I think that what we plan to do is go down over time, but we want to do it in a way which is measured. And we've done some so far. We want to see the market for government bonds develop as we create more space for banks to get out of it.
Okay.
And we need to make sure that there is
How do you do that? I mean, you open gates for more FIIs to buy?
No, the insurance companies are also coming more into this. The pension funds, they will get more funds over time.
Okay.
We talked about retail investment, though my sense is early on that's going to be relatively small.
Okay.
So we need to create other avenues also. So this is a measured process. When they say, regulation is affecting, yes, this is a historical legacy. The SLR is not strictly set for liquidity reasons. It's also set to create a group of purchasers for government securities. It's not binding today. Banks hold significantly
much more. Yes.
But it could be binding as credit demands of the private sector pick up. So we have to bring down the SLR to whatever the equilibrium level is, way before it becomes binding.
That's what I thought. I mean, this was a good opportunity when anyway there is an appetite for buying more than the mandatory level. You still haven't brought it.
I mean, it will happen. It doesn't have to happen every policy.
Okay. The Reserve Bank and you have not been extremely eager about the PDMA. What exactly might that disrupt?
Okay.
Why do you want to see it at a later date rather than an earlier date?
See, there are the Reserve Bank has been managing the government's debt, and there have been some people who have said there are conflicts of interest associated with it, which is that you may set regulations such as the SLR level to absorb the public debt, and sometimes you may alter monetary policy in order to sell public debt. Now, these are theoretical conflicts of interest. They may have been larger in the past, but the fact that we're bringing down SLR steadily over time doesn't suggest that we're keeping SLR high in order to facilitate it. We're just making sure that we don't bring it down in such a disruptive fashion that North Block finds it hard to sell its debt.
Yes.
And North Block should be happy about it, and I think a number of people are.
Yeah, but now, if there is an independent PDMA, you probably can cut with a little more freedom, isn't it? The SLR.
I mean, we would still have to be careful that we don't disrupt the government bond market.
Okay.
Even if there was an independent PDMA. I mean, this is our development role. We have to be careful.
Okay.
And this is about the country, not about government or bank or whatever. So these conflicts of interest, sometimes when people think of it, they think of it in a very narrow way and say, okay, you must have that conflict of interest, therefore you'll succumb to it. Similarly, monetary policy, we have an inflation framework now. We're not focused on selling government debt with monetary policy. We focus on the framework. So in that sense, I don't think it's... But is there a value to having a separate entity? Probably. And an entity that is a professional entity which is distinct from government and from the bank as a separate institution. I don't think of it as a self-sustaining institution. It's not going to be as an RBI or a SEBI, because you won't start at the bottom and rise to the top. It's going to be a fairly small institution. Now, there are three functions it has to perform. The front office, which is basically selling, auctioning the debt. The middle office, which is how much of the debt should I sell, in what form, should it be inflation index bonds, at what frequency, should it be 30-year bonds, 20-year bonds, etc. And the last is the apparatus to manage the trading and the distinct flow of those bonds. Now, that apparatus, the third part, which is the back office, is now well entangled with things like repo arrangements, with things like money market, collateralized money market instruments and so on. So that back office, one has to think carefully about how that will be structured going forward. and without disrupting existing arrangements, which, because of the volume at which they take place, have to be at very low transaction costs. Create many institutions governing that, you create frictions there. So I think that what we've been saying is, okay, we're happy with this moving. You have to pick the time. A time at which you think it's reasonable that the government can stand on its own feet and sell the bonds freely in the market. You may think that time is now. You may think it's a few years from now when you've got the captive audience uncaptive. Yeah. And then, but that is...
You would prefer that. The sequencing would be better when
I think
banks are not forced.
Government has to make the judgment. But clearly it is better that at that time there not be a captive audience. Otherwise you get into trouble with the regulator. Who's going to how much is the regulator going to determine this? Okay,
I am being warned, so just last two, actually softer questions. How does RBI look from inside? How did it look from outside? Was it a sea change when you perceived the job and took the job?
No, it wasn't. I came to this job via North Block. So
yeah, but only 1 year in North Block.
No, a year is a long time. So I think that prepared me very well for what I would say.
Is the job very different from what it looked in, say, 2008 or 2009, when you were, as the PM's advisor, still watching all the institutions? I just want to know whether coming inside, it actually looks either more onerous, more difficult, more complicated, or not so, actually.
I think what we have is a very good set of professionals. And certainly people at the top at the RBI are, I think, equal to people you'd find anywhere else in the world. So it's a delight working with capable professionals. The RBI is a hierarchical organization. The governor is sort of the father figure. I wouldn't say Raja, but the father figure who has to, I think, set an appropriate example and set the tone. And that takes some getting used to. But I think it's an institution with a strong tradition, and I think two factors I keep emphasizing: integrity and capability. And of course, capability erodes over time, so we have to constantly work on nourishing that capability. We're trying to do that. Integrity is something that once you lose, you'll never get back. So we have to make sure that any situations where integrity is questioned, we deal with it quickly, and this retains that strong reputation.
It was the longest answer, and you didn't at all answer my question. Let me try the last one. If you looked at the format of government and RBI up until the previous regime, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was there and Subbarao was the governor, it was more or less the same set. These people had interacted in different situations. Dr. Singh had been our RBI governor. Subbarao was in government. The same is true of Reddy, Chidambaram, Manmohan Singh. The same was true previously of maybe even to some extent Rangarajan and Manmohan Singh as finance minister. This is the first time that you are an outsider to the system, and Mr. Modi is an outsider to the system. Does that make for a positive relationship because both of you don't have baggage, or does it make for a difficult relationship because you all are not from the same?
I don't want to psychoanalyze the
psychoanalyze. You are in it. You saw it in the previous
relationship.
This is a very real question.
No, I have had relationships with people in the regime for a long time now. Yes. Since when 2003, I was in touch with Mr. Yashwant Sinha, Mr. Jaswant Singh, who was the finance minister after Yashwant Sinha, then Mr. Chidambaram. Monte Ahluwalia was a colleague at the IMF. So people in the system, Bimal Jalan I've known because I came to the RBI in 1999 with T.N. Srinivasan to do to look at the research department. So contact has been there. Maybe I haven't worked on a daily basis.
I meant relation between governor and prime minister. In previous instances, they knew each other well.
Yeah.
And in your case, he's new to the system, and you are, in a sense, you're from the IAS.
Well, I think we have a perfectly good relationship, and I don't want to think insider, outsider, or whatever it is, but I think
he called you a very good teacher. So.
No, well, I think teaching is on both sides.
Okay.
I think it's a good relationship.
All right. Thank you, Governor, for joining us in this conversation and for giving us so much time.
Thank you.